Hi guys, it's Rachel and welcome back to another video. So this year has been packed with updates to Canadian immigration, especially for international students, right? I've honestly never seen so many policy changes rolled out in 1 year, and even keeping up with everything has been a bit of a whirlwind. With so much happening, I thought it'd be helpful to do a quick 2024 recap of all the key changes impacting students, especially since many of them are still relevant as we head into the new year. So to keep things simple, I've organized everything into 3 key stages: the pre-planning stage, the studying in Canada stage, and the post-graduation work permit stage. Grouping these updates by stage will make it easier to plan ahead and give more clarity. And plus, you can skip to the chapters that are most relevant to where you are in your journey. So with that, let's dive into the key updates, starting with the pre-planning stage. Let's kick off with one of the biggest headlines of 2024, and that is Canada started the year with a bang by introducing a 2-year cap on international students. The primary goal? To address growing challenges like housing shortages and rising living costs, driven in part by the high number of foreigners in Canada, including international students. So pretty much, Canada set a goal to only approve 360,000 new study permits for the year. For context, in 2023, almost 683,000 study permit holders entered Canada. So that's a huge drop of nearly 47%. So how is this being implemented, right? Well, it starts with stricter requirements for study permit applications, which leads us to the next major update, which is the increase in proof of funds. So yes, as mentioned, the proof of funds requirement for study permit applications has increased effective January 1st. Before, a single applicant only needed to show 10,000 Canadian dollars to cover living expenses. But with inflation driving up costs, the new requirement is now almost 21,000 Canadian dollars, and that's on top of tuition costs. Honestly, I think it's fair. Moving to a new country is already a huge adjustment, and the last thing you'd want is to scrape by on the bare minimum. Having that financial cushion not only makes life easier, but also lets you actually focus on your studies and enjoy your experience in Canada without constantly worrying about moolah. So for me, even though the jump is twice as much, I actually think that this is a step in the right direction. Another big step that IRCC introduced to tighten study permit requirements is the verification process for letters of acceptance, or the LOA. Now, it was officially rolled out in December 2023, but has been implemented throughout 2024. Here's how it works. When you apply for a study permit, you normally have to submit a letter of acceptance from your school, right? But now, there's an extra step wherein your school has to verify your LOA directly with IRCC using their compliance portal. Now, the good thing is, as a student, you don't need to do anything extra. It's all handled between your school and IRCC, so it's one less thing for you to stress about. Honestly, of all the updates that IRCC has rolled out, this is in my top 3. And the reason I'm saying this is because it's a solid move to protect the integrity of the international student program and make sure things like fake LOAs aren't slipping through the cracks. Plus, I like how it puts some of the responsibility on schools to make sure that everything checks out. I mean, it just makes the whole system feel a lot more secure for students like you. But wait, there's more. Alongside verifying your letter of acceptance, IRCC has also introduced the Provincial Attestation Letter, or PAL, as an additional requirement. So what's a PAL anyway? Well, basically, it's a letter that confirms your acceptance fits within the number of international students the province or territory is allowed to welcome. Previously, to apply for a study permit, all you needed was the LOA from your school and a few other standard required documents. But now, you'll also need a PAL in addition to your LOA and other documents. Here's how it works. So first, you need to secure your LOA from your designated learning institution, usually by paying a deposit or commitment fee. Once that's done, your school will apply to the provincial government on your behalf to obtain the PAL. Once the province issues it, your school will send it back to you, and then you'll use that to include it with your LOA and other documents in your study permit application. So again, you don't need to do much in this process. It's more between the school and the province this time, but it's just good to know so that you know what documents you need to include in your study permit application. Now, another important thing to note is that not all students require a PAL, but I'm not going to dive into the specifics of who does and doesn't need a PAL just to keep this video focused. But if you want to read more about it, you can visit this page that links to IRCC's website, where you can confirm if this applies to your situation. Next, another update that happened recently, specifically on November 8th, 2024, is that Canada has officially ended both the Student Direct Stream, or the SDS, and the Nigeria Student Express, or the NSE programs. For context, these programs were designed to speed up study permit processing for eligible students. The Student Direct Stream, launched in 2018, provided faster processing for students from specific countries, as shown on your screen. Similarly, the Nigeria Student Express was created to offer quicker processing exclusively for students from Nigeria. But that said, these programs have officially ended, so prospective students that used to qualify for these streams will now have to apply through the regular study permit stream instead. Now here's a tea or gossip based on what I've read and seen in Facebook groups and other forums, but some students have actually claimed that their study permit applications were processed faster through the regular study permit stream than the SDS at times. So in practice, this change might not be as big of a deal as it seems. That said, if you did submit your application through the SDS or NSE before this time on November 8th, 2024, your application will still be processed under those streams. But anyway, moving forward, all new applicants will need to go through the regular study permit stream. So basically, everyone is playing on the same field now. Moving along, let's dive into all the updates for students who are currently studying in Canada. The first one is big, and that is you can now work up to 24 hours per week off campus during regular academic sessions. IRCC initially teased this back in April 2024, but they've only recently reflected this update on their website as of November 2024. Regardless, it is official now, and you can clearly see this update outlined on the IRCC off-campus work eligibility page using this link that's also included in the description box below. Now, this is a win in my books and for most students because, let's be honest, the old 20-hour per week limit was awkward to manage. Back when I was studying, I had to divide my work hours between 2 full days and a half day, which was a hassle to track. But now with 24 hours, you can split it into 6 part-time days working 4 hours each, or 3 full days working 8 hours each, or any other way that fits into your schedule. In short, what I'm trying to say is that the flexibility of 24 hours just makes it so much easier to manage your time. Plus, those extra hours mean that you can earn a bit more money, and while it's not a huge bump, it could be enough to cover your monthly phone bill, and for me, that's a win. Now, this next update is for students planning to transfer schools or change programs, and unfortunately, it's not the best news. As of November 8th, 2024, if you want to transfer schools or switch programs, you can no longer simply update IRCC about the change like you could before. Instead, you'll need to apply for a new study permit by extending your current one. Now again, I'm not going to get into specifics because the exact process will depend on your unique situation. This video is just meant to give you a heads up on what's changing. But if you are interested in the steps that you need to take, especially if you're considering transferring schools or switching programs, you can visit this IRCC page as seen on your screen. The main takeaway here is that once you choose a school and program, you need to be sure about your choice and stick with it. And that's only because changing schools or programs now takes more effort, costs extra in application fees, and is a longer process. So yeah, plan carefully, commit to your choice, and avoid switching if you can, as it'll save you time, money, and hassle. Now, before we move on to the next point, I just want to quickly plug, if you're not already following me on IG, please check me out there. I do tend to share all the latest tips, news, and updates on everything international student related. And plus, I also love sharing and engaging with the community there. So if that's something that you'd like to be part of, don't be a stranger and say hi. That's it. Thank you. All right, now let's talk about the big changes for anyone planning to apply for a post-graduation work permit. So if you're hoping to work in Canada after graduation, here's what you need to know. First, let's talk about an important update regarding public-private partnership college programs. Wow, that was a mouthful. Now, what are public-private partnership programs anyway? Well, pretty much these are programs that are offered by private colleges in collaboration with public colleges. In this setup, private institutions deliver programs that are licensed and overseen by public colleges. And these programs are often attractive because they often come with lower tuition costs and easier entry requirements compared to traditional public college programs. As such, this structure made them a popular choice among some international students because not only did they offer a more affordable way to study in Canada, but they also provided eligibility for the PGWP or post-graduation work permit, allowing graduates to work in Canada after completing their studies. But, and there's a big but here, concerns about the quality of education in some of these programs have prompted significant changes to PGWP eligibility rules. And that is why, as of May 15th, 2024, graduates from these programs will no longer be eligible for a PGWP. Now, I have to say, I was never really a fan of these setups. I've always believed that if something seems too good to be true, it probably is. Sure, they might seem like an easy way to get into Canada at first, but taking the easy route often means facing harder challenges later, whether that's struggling to find a job or missing out on opportunities because of a lack of school recognition. So the key lesson here is to be very mindful of the school you choose. Remember, making intentional choices now can save you from bigger challenges down the line. Alright, with that, let's move on to the next update. Students who submit their PGWP application will now need to meet a new language proficiency requirement. Yes, you heard right. You will now have to meet a new language proficiency requirement. Before this, you actually didn't need to prove your language abilities to get a PGWP. All you had to do was submit your official transcript and a letter confirming that you graduated, and you'd be good to go for up to a 3-year work permit. But now, things have changed and you'll need to prove your language skills in either English or French. The level that you will need to meet depends on the type of institution and level of education you graduated from. So for example, if you completed a bachelor's, master's, or doctoral degree from a university, you'll need to meet a CLP 7. And if you graduated from a college or another non-university program, the requirement is CLP 5. Personally, I find this requirement a bit redundant, and the reason I say this is because you've already proven your language abilities when you were admitted to the school you chose to study. And then, you completed the entire curriculum learning it in either English or French. So I don't know why IRCC is adding this as an extra step at the PGWP stage. Like, it feels unnecessary. I just don't like that they had to add another hoop to jump through, and plus you have to pay additional fees for that language proficiency test, which honestly, I'm not sure what purpose it really serves. But hey, I don't make the rules, and unfortunately, this is the reality now. And so if you are planning to apply for a PGWP, it's just one more thing you'll need to prepare for. But wait, there's more, sadly, and I'm so sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but there's also the eligible fields of study requirement, which is another important update for PGWP applicants. So here's how it works. If you submitted your study permit application before November 1st, 2024, fortunately, you don't have to worry about this. There are no restrictions on your field of study for PGWP, so you're in the clear. But if you submitted your study permit application on or after November 1st, 2024, things are different. And that is, you'll need to graduate from a program that's in an eligible field of study to qualify for a PGWP. So what are those eligible fields? Those eligible fields are tied to jobs that are in long-term demand in Canada. And currently, they fall into 6 categories. And they are agriculture and agri-food, education, healthcare, STEM, trade, and transport. Now, the reason why Canada set it up this way is because there are in-demand occupations that are in shortage right now, and so they're trying to find people to fill those spots in. So if you want to check if your chosen program qualifies, you can use the link that I've shared on your screen to check it out. And once you do, and you see that your program isn't on that list, that means you won't qualify for a PGWP. So if you're planning to apply for a study permit after November 1st, it's super important to pick a program that aligns with these new rules. Otherwise, you risk missing out on your chance to get a PGWP, which translates to missing out on your chance to work in Canada after graduation. Finally, let's talk about some good news for those planning to pursue a master's degree in Canada. So on Feb 15th, a new policy was introduced allowing graduates of master's programs lasting less than 2 years but more than 8 months to qualify for a 3-year PGWP as long as they meet all other PGWP eligibility criteria. And the reason this is big news is because previously, students in shorter master's programs, like those lasting 16 months, were typically eligible for a PGWP matching the program length. Sometimes, at the discretion of the visa officer, a longer PGWP could be issued, but that meant relying on chance and the generosity of the visa officer. So with this policy change, it's now much clearer. That means if your master's program is less than 2 years but more than 8 months, you can be more confident in qualifying for a 3-year PGWP, provided you meet all other requirements. Alright, here's a bonus update worth mentioning because many students choose to bring their spouse or common law partner with them when they come to Canada. For those who aren't familiar, one of the key incentives for bringing your partner to Canada is the Spousal Open Work Permit. This allows your spouse or common law partner to work for any employer across Canada on an open work permit, supporting you during your studies. It's a huge benefit, as it not only helps you offset living costs, but also makes your transition to life in Canada much easier. So it's no surprise that many students see this as an opportunity to have their partner by their side while they pursue their studies. But here's a big update. Spousal open work permits will only be available to spouses of international students enrolled in certain programs, like master's, doctorate, or some professional degree granting programs that you see on your screen. What this means is that if you're enrolled in an undergraduate or college program, like a diploma or certificate, your spouse or common law partner won't qualify for the Spousal Open Work Permit anymore. This is definitely a big change and huge pressure on the student's shoulders, but it also just goes to show how important it is to aim for higher education if you want your partner to take advantage of these kinds of benefits. And that's a wrap on all the major updates from 2024 for international students. Oh my god, that was a lot. And just reading some of these changes, I'm so sorry. It's hard to deny that things are getting tougher in Canada right now. Honestly, I don't even know the right words to say to make you feel better. But if we do take a step back and look at the bigger picture, there are some positives here. First, Canada is taking steps to protect students, which is always a good thing. Yes, there are more hoops to jump through before getting here, but once you've made it, I feel like you've tackled the hardest part. I also like to believe that once you made it to Canada, everything you're doing from here on out is setting you up for success. For example, the program you studied is designed to address skills that Canada needs right now, which improves your chances of finding a job. And that alone gives you a solid foundation to work toward your long-term goals in Canada. But that doesn't necessarily mean that I wholeheartedly agree with all the changes. And my heart does go out to current students who feel like it's unfair to them because everything unraveled so quickly. And I also feel more for incoming students who now have to face a more intricate process of coming to Canada for studies. Looking back at it, that's just how immigration works, It's all about balance. Sometimes policies work in our favor, and other times they swing in the opposite direction, and it's just the nature of things. But if you've made it to the end of this video, here's what I want to leave you with. First, have a solid study plan. Take the time to really define your personal goals and make sure they align with what studying in Canada can offer you. It's not just about picking a program, it's about choosing one that can help you work in Canada after graduation and possibly stay long term. Do your research to make sure the school provides quality education and that the program is PGWP eligible. Also, don't overlook the basics, like making sure you have the necessary funds to support your journey. Basically, a well-thought-out plan sets the foundation for a smoother experience in Canada. Second, and just to reiterate, choose the right school. Make sure your chosen school ticks all the boxes, like providing a verified letter of acceptance, issuing a provincial attestation letter, and most importantly, qualifying you for the post-graduation work permit. Double-checking this upfront can save you from major headaches down the road. Third, once you're in, focus on completing your studies diligently. After all, that's what you signed up for. This means being a full-time student, attending classes regularly, staying on top of assignments, and of course, graduating. Also make sure you're abiding by your study permit conditions along the way. This isn't just important for your education, it's also important for achieving your long-term goals in Canada. Put in the work at every stage so you're ready to move on to the next. Lastly, start preparing for your PGWP early. Before you graduate, make sure you're familiar with the PGWP requirements. This might include booking a language test in advance or double-checking that your program still aligns with in-demand jobs in Canada. You should also start working on your resume and cover letter ahead of time so you're ready to apply for full-time jobs as soon as you graduate. The key here is to think and plan ahead, so knowing your next steps will help you avoid feeling unprepared or overwhelmed when the time comes. And that's it. Thank you so much for making it all the way to this video, and I hope this video helped keep you in the loop with all the recent changes. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Which of these changes do you think are fair, and which ones feel too difficult to comply with? Either way, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And of course, if you found this video helpful, be sure to share it to a friend, and I'd also really appreciate it if you could like this video, leave a comment below, and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more content like this. Anyway, thanks for watching, be kind, and as always, I'll see you in the next video. Cheers!